It's just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Charlie Wynn, BSMS, Amir Abolfathi, BSMS, and Mick Falkel, BSDS. Amir Abolfathi is co-founder of uLabSystems. He has over 32 years of operating experience in the healthcare industry, focused on developing and commercializing cardiovascular devices, dental products, hearing prosthetics, and genomic diagnostics and analytics. Prior to uLab, he founded 4 other medical device startups since 1995. He was VP of R&D at Align Technology, responsible for product development and clinical education during the first 6 years of Align inception. You remember they own Invisalign and iTero. Prior to Align Technology, Amir held a variety of executive positions at Pfizer, Guidant, and Baxter. Amir holds over 100 issued patents, received an MS in engineering at the University of Southern Cal and a BS in biomedical engineering from the University of California. Charlie Wynn on the far left, wave Charlie. Charlie Wynn is the co-founder and president of uLabSystems, an AI-based software company to enable doctors to create computer-assisted treatment solutions in office. A serial entrepreneur, Charlie has co-founded several companies in multiple markets, including OrthoClear, an orthodontic company, exit by selling for $20 million. FourPosition, advanced indoor GPS device, Caregiver, an AI-based senior assistant system, Dentul, a device distribution company. Charlie is also known as first CTO of Invisalign, built a technology to a successful $1 billion IPO. Prior to Align, Charlie worked for Hollywood, where 2 movies he worked on nominated for an Oscar. Charlie is the inventor of 100 patents and won National Math Award twice in China. He received a BS from University of Science and Technology of China, received MS from Caltech. My gosh, and then Mick Falkel, is that Falkel?
That's it.
Am I saying it right? Mick Falkel, class of 1987, graduate of the University of Pacific Arthur Dugoni School of Dentistry in San Francisco, California. After graduation, he attended a general practice residency at the Veterans Administration Hospital at West Los Angeles and has been in general practice in Monterey, California since 1989. In 1972, the Monterey Peninsula Dental Group was formed to provide comprehensive dental care at one convenient location and has been successful in serving the Monterey Peninsula for over 35 years. Their doctors and team maintain a high level of continuing education in order to provide care utilizing the most modern dental techniques. Having experienced frustration with the performance of local anesthetic in his practice, particularly around the frequency of failed anesthetic, delayed onset, injection pain, and post-operative discomfort, he began research into the pharmacokinetics of dental anesthetics. Based on this research, he developed an alternative new paradigm, an anesthetic delivery system for dentistry, and is the founder of On Pharma Company, an anesthetic technology and products company. Dr. Falkel has a position as an assistant professor in local anesthesia at the University of Pacific. In 2015, he helped start uLabSystems as the clinical founder. uLab is a disruptive orthodontic services company. I feel like I'm talking to the 3 smartest people in dentistry, and I should be given like flashcards on what to ask or what to say. My gosh, I mean, what do you guys do for grins? Just sit around and do calculus, or do you do trig and geometry in your head when you're bored? I mean, my gosh. So I don't even know where to begin with you guys. You guys, so much. Should we start with Aura Pharma or uLabs, or why don't we start with uLabs? Because we started, it was on the last podcast with Christian Kenworthy, where he basically used uLabSystems for his orthodontic software because he wants to make in-office aligners. Is that the core of uLabs?
To some extent, yes. So we started this company, the 3 of us, 4 years ago, really on a premise that what we created 22 years ago kind of took the control out of the orthodontist and clinician to do the treatment planning, because a lot of things were unknown back then. 22 years ago, when Invisalign was being created, we didn't have the computational power that is available to us today. We didn't have intraoral scanning. the 3D printing were not in a state they are today, as cheap and as inexpensive, and also resolution that you get today. And by virtue of all those constraints, the system that was designed was designed in such a way that it was a centralized model, highly controlled by the manufacturer. And like anything else, as businesses grow and scale, there are legacy issues, and they keep the same architecture. So about 4 years ago, we kind of looked at the state of the technology, and each one of us kind of arrived at it kind of on our own. And we realized that nobody's kind of breaking the mold and kind of coming up with new ideas of doing aligner system differently. And that's how uLab got created.
Man, that was geniusly succinct. 22 years ago, you obviously didn't have, the computers were much slower. I hear that from the CAD/CAM developers. When I would go to Austria and talk to the Sirona people way back in the day, they would say that the whole thing was limited by the power of the Intel microprocessor. And every time Intel came out with a bigger chip, they could add more software. So the computational computing power got bigger. The 3D printing power got bigger. What else besides computation and 3D printing technology?
And I think the third thing is actually the algorithm. And I think that we still, up to today, that the whole architecture of all the orthodontic companies, other than uLab, is based on the architecture we kind of figured out 20 years ago. And it's basically suitable for centralized manufacturing. And I think the new architecture will be much faster and intelligent than the previous one, so that the doctor can use little of their time to create a treatment on the chair side. And I think that's the goal of uLab system. It's more like a Sirona for the dental crown and bridges.
So the algorithm. So explain to an algorithm what someone who doesn't know what an algorithm is. How would you describe that?
So basically, let's explain the process, right? Before that, the doctor they look at the crooked teeth, and they say, okay, how am I going to treat this patient? They write a prescription form without kind of dreaming and go, right? But that thing cannot be described in a term that the people thousands of miles away to interpret it correctly. And the algorithm, what we have is using corresponding things we cannot disclose in detail because it's our secret. And it can use the single fingertips, and they can see the results right away and how the teeth are changing. Instead of writing the prescription forms, they can get the treatment right on the chair side. That's the advantage of the uLab system for now. So in that way, that they have the control back by themselves, they can do exactly what the treatment they want to do instead of telling somebody to do it for themselves.
So all this algorithm comes from the Persian scientist, astronomer, and mathematician Abdullah Muhammad bin Musa al-Khwarizmi, often cited as the father of algebra. I think it's funny that the word algorithm was the English way of trying to say this poor man's name, and they mispronounced his name so bad that we call it an algorithm, and nobody who speaks Farsi can look at this guy's name and say, how did everyone come up with algorithm from Musa al-Khwarizmi? Do any of you know how to say it?
Kazemi, yeah.
Khwarizmi?
Kazemi, yeah.
So how did they get algorithm out of Khwarizmi?
I have no idea.
Strange times, but yes. So how I think it's interesting that this is what people do. The business model gets built, and then people just go along with it for 30, 40 years until someone comes on like you and just destroys the system. So is this going to Do you think this is going to move, instead of me scanning with a system and it goes to Invisalign, which means it goes to Costa Rica and they do all this processing there and mail the aligners back to me? Do you think this is going to be scanning in your office and milling and making the aligners in your office and no more need for Invisalign someday?
Well, I mean, I would say it's already happening. I mean, so we started commercializing the product about 15 months ago on a limited basis. By limited basis, I mean we only have 3 sales rep and 2 support staff that they handled clinical education. We have about 220 providers that are actively using the product. We expect to have about 600 by the end of next year. So there is definitely a demand from the clinician that are interested to do their own aligner, and also would say we are not limited to just aligner system. Our vision is much broader than that. We started with orthodontics because that was our core competency because of our background with Invisalign 20 years ago. But today's platform that Charlie and his team developed allows the doctor to not only do aligner, but also indirect bonding. And very soon they could do combination treatment seamlessly through the software. So we are in a way agnostic of whether the doctor wants to use our software for aligner or bracket system or a hybrid system. And then longer down the road, Mick, our partner here, wants to use the platform to branch out in other sectors of the cosmetic dentistry and dentistry.
Mick, yeah. What does that mean to you, Mick?
So, it means quite a bit, Howard, to be honest with you. But the idea of being able to do your orthodontic treatment right now in the office. So if you're, let's go back to Invisalign for a second. If I start an Invisalign case now, I'm probably going to deliver the trays in about a month, 3 weeks to a month, something like that. With uLab, we're seeing results where you start the case, 45 minutes later, you're delivering the trays.
Wow! So
that's a significant disruption in the technology that's available today. So the orthodontic platform, I think, is spectacular. Where we want to go in the future is we're going to be adding in things like aesthetic dentistry. I'm a big believer in doing a diagnostic wax up. But the diagnostic wax up, I look at it on the articulator and I try to show that to the patient. They don't get very excited about that. But if I can take an impression of that, pour it up in stone, make a stent, and then put a composite in, add that onto the patient's teeth, they smile on it with their smile and they look at it and say, now I'm ready to go. So that's a great sales technique, if you will, to give the patient a preview of what they're doing. Well, with uLab, we're going to be able to do the diagnostic wax up digitally and create the device that we need to bring to the mouth and show them what their end result would be before they've ever left the consultation, instead of having them come back after a long wax up procedure is being done. So that's really exciting because that's going to allow dentists to show patients what they're going to look like right away. Also with aesthetic cases, quite often you have to move teeth. One of the reasons patients want a nice smile is their teeth are crooked, but they don't want to go through orthodontics. But if you could do a minor amount of tooth movement, you could dramatically reduce the amount of tooth reduction you need to do the veneer case or whatever porcelain work that you're doing. Other things we're working on are simultaneous treatment of obstructive sleep apnea and orthodontics. So you'll be able to treat both at the same time with the hope that at the end of the treatment, they don't need an appliance because their arches have been developed in a way that they can actually breathe better and perhaps not need an appliance at all. And that's not available anywhere. And I think we'll be the first to bring that to market. We're also going to be working on TMD treatments. So being able to create TMD appliances, combining the use of the 3D technologies that we have in diagnostic radiology using cone beam. Now we can actually place the joint where we want it to be in the comfortable position and then develop the occlusion around that, which will be a significant change in the way we can treat TMD cases. And then finally, we're working on implant site development. Quite often people who need implants, teeth have super erupted, the teeth have migrated, will be able to fix the sites so that the implants can be done in the best possible fashion. So those are some things that are in our pipeline that we're going to be working on moving down the road.
That's a big pipeline.
Yeah, Howard, based on just talking about the trend, you asked the question I'm trying to answer. It's the dental industry is similar to the paper printing industry. 20 years ago, we probably, when we want to print something, we have to go to a centralized computer lab, log a time, and print a piece of paper. And after 10 years, the Kinkos come out and say, okay, you just need to give me a floppy disk, plug in, I can print it for you. And now the 2D printer is so reliable and convenient and cheap enough, people just buy the printer to their home and office and want to print. And I think the dentistry will go in that way as well, from a centralized manufacturing to be regionalized, eventually to the chair side. The advantage is doctors spend years in dental school and they have many years of experience. When they see the patient, they have much more information than sending a piece of data far away and let somebody else to handle it. And also it enables some of the treatment you cannot do, you cannot wait and switch right away. For instance, that we see a big trend that our doctors are trying to debond the braces way earlier than they used to do and put a few pieces of uLab aligner to finish the cases. And we have other cases like Mick mentioned that somebody wants to put a crown there, but he wants to upright the root a little bit, and he can quickly put a few uLab aligners uproot and then just get the crown done. So I think that's the trend is going that way.
Yeah, so the key here is, Howard, is giving true control to the hands of the clinician, because when you go to other manufacturers, you pay a dental lab fee, you get a box that just moves teeth or does a certain things. What we are trying to create here is to enable the doctor to not only align teeth, but to do anything they want. They have a software platform that is not restricted for them to play around and do very customized treatment for each patient that they have. So we hear the word open source in a software word. This is really an open source kind of a product for them. If they buy a printer, they could build any appliance they want using this platform, related to orthodontia, of course, right now, to kind of treat their patient. And that's what we want to do. That's what we want to do for this community.
So if an orthodontist right now has an iTero oral scanner, they're using Invisalign, but it's, between scanning, getting the trays is almost a month, and you were going to do this where you were going to scan and chairside mill, how much capital equipment would you have to buy? How much are these 3D printers? What would you have to invest to be able to do this within the hour?
Not much. I mean, so you could buy a printer as cheap as $4,000 today that would do the job for you. I mean, we don't recommend those type of printer, but I think a good, robust, benchtop printer that has a good resolution and a good speed, because speed is the key here, is probably going to cost you somewhere between $10,000 to $14,000.
What printer do you recommend?
We have preferred partners. We have 3 of them. We have Structo is one of them. There is Sprint Ray is another one, and Envision Tech. And we think all 3 of these manufacturers are really focused at the orthodontic market. And so they have developed a machine that is fast, accurate, and doesn't require too much space, and I think is economical. Now you have probably 2 or 3 dozen other manufacturers that have printers that they do a great job, but they are printer for general purpose. So you might be paying a lot more for a printer that you might not never use the capacity that it has. So that's why we have this partnership put in place. So for the orthodontists that are new to the 3D printing industry, when they ask us what we recommend, we recommend those 3 right now.
And that's on your website? I'm at uLabSystems. Where would the list of those printers be?
I think it's on our website.
Yeah, so there should be a list on our website that has probably about 12 to 15 printers that we have validated that based on an FDA cleared protocol that works with our software. But those 3 that I just mentioned, we call them preferred partners. We have no economic interest in that transaction. So it's not like we are saying they're a preferred partner and people buy them and we get some money out of it. We get $0 out of it. The only reason we call them a preferred partner is because we feel for somebody that doesn't know 3D printers, that would be a suitable one for an average orthodontist that wants to start making retainers and aligners and dental products in their office.
Yeah, I don't see that preferred list of printers on your website. Am I missing it, or?
Go double check.
Yeah, I don't go on our website every day, but I think last time I checked, it was there. And,
okay.
Did you find it?
No, I don't.
Oh, you're not checking out. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's you recommend 3 printers, and the best ones are probably about 10 to 15,000. You say?
Yeah, in that range. Yeah, I think that both the EnvisionTech and SprintRay are in the 10 to 12,000 range, and Structo is a little bit more expensive, but it does more. I mean, so they have a machine that not only does the 3D printing, but they do a little bit of the post-processing, which is cleaning and curing. So it offloads the labor long-term and it pays for itself. So for some offices, that's worth it.
So this sounds like it's going to be very disruptive to Align technology.
Yeah, we believe so. I mean, we the 3 of us here sitting here, we are technologists, and by that I mean that we gravitate toward technology solution, less so toward marketing and sales solution. So, I mean, there is not I would say a week that I don't get an email, oh, here we go, another aligner company. But when you look at all of these new companies, they're all either changing the distribution channel or they are changing the pricing model, but there's really nothing unique in terms of the technology. And so what we try to do is come up with a technology that is going to change and really benefit in a value-added way for the clinician that's going to use our product. And we believe it's going to be not only disruptive to, I would say, a traditional aligner manufacturer, but also fixed appliances, because as we mentioned, as Charlie mentioned, about half our cases right now with our 220 providers are hybrid cases, meaning the doctors realizing that mixing and matching the biomechanics of the fixed appliances and aligners actually benefits the patient and benefits them. So they debond the bracket cases toward the end, which there is a lot of trial and error by bending the wire, and they switch them to an aligner system, which is more predictive in terms of getting them to the end goal. So we think that's very disruptive, and we are putting a lot of resources, R&D dollar, to make the software even with more capability to allow them to seamlessly program a hybrid cases.
You're out there in California, and you've seen the SmileDirectClub IPO was kind of disaster. And last week, your California governor just signed a law changing teledentistry rules. What do you think of the SmileDirectClub, who was trying to use a teledentistry technology to disrupt orthodontics to deliver it, lower cost, versus the Invisalign model that was built around still needing to see a doctor? What are your thoughts on
I
SmileDirectClub?
could give you my thoughts, and maybe Charlie and Mick could chime in. I mean, first of all, I mean, I would say a $4 billion valuation is not a disaster. Okay, so they must have done something right. But personally, I think what SmileDirectClub did, there was a void in the industry for a group of consumer, which are the significant portion of the folks with malocclusion that either can afford a $3,000 or $5,000 treatment, but at the same time they want to have a better smile, and so they fill that void. And unless there is other solution, and I think we are one of those solution, they're gonna have a good business. Now I know in California they're gonna have a tough time, but they're gonna build a successful business, and they have already built a successful business creating that void. So that's just my view on it. I don't know, Mick, what
Yeah, so my view on SmileDirectClub is from the clinician's point of view, I completely see what the American Dental Association, American Association of Orthodontics are talking about with respect to the potential for danger for the patient and no ability for recourse for that patient as well. Saying that, like Amir said, I mean, they found a position in the marketplace that certainly worked to get them to an IPO, and that means that there's something there that the consumers want. So if we could find a solution that would combine the ability for a dentist to oversee the treatment, yet not have the level of oversight that costs a significant amount, that is a win for both the patient and the dentist as well. And the patient is going to be treated successfully under supervision, but lighter supervision, which may be something that competes with SmileDirectClub.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a low-cost option. I mean, it's either $6,500 orthodontic braces or nothing. And then when someone comes in to you build something that's faster, easier, lower cost, it's hard to tell, is this just the good old boys stopping disruption and competition to preserve the status quo? Or like you say, there's something there, which I think is the market would like a lower cost alternative to $6,500 braces, and they were kind of delivering a $4,500 braces. Do you agree with that? That they were appealing to a lower cost?
From my point of view, I just my own personal view, I think that from a doctor point of view, they need to be responsible for the patient, and they should put the quality of care to the patient as well. And cost is definitely the issue there. I think that uLab provides the flexibility that you can use the software and create the treatment right away, actually can lower the lab bill for quite a bit for the doctor. And they could provide the quality care to the patient. In the meantime, give a low-cost offer. But I'm not going to the market that lower the cost and without thinking too much on the quality of the care.
Interesting. And also there's another in dentistry, it kind of seems like a lot of these companies either focus on, when it comes to orthodontics, they just focus on the orthodontist. Or are you mostly just focused on the orthodontist, since they probably do, what percent of the ortho do you think in the United States is done by orthodontist as opposed to general dentist?
I used to have that number. I don't have it anymore.
I don't know.
I used to know all of these numbers when we were at Invisalign, but right now I don't have it. I knew there were back then about 25,000 GPs that were practicing orthodontics on a routine basis. So that was a significant volume. And last time I was looking at Align's kind of a data, it looked like their business was split 50-50 at least in US between GP and ortho, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
So will you guys be agnostic as far as if you're an orthodontist or general dentist? I mean, would you like to try to stay with orthodontists, or does it not matter? Or
I think long-term, it doesn't matter for us. Short-term, it does matter for us because we are a startup. We have limited capital. So obviously, when we go to an orthodontist office, they have the volume and they do fixed appliances and they already do clear aligners. So, I mean, we don't have to spend money on educating the GPs how to do orthodontics, I mean, the one that want to do it, but they haven't done it before, whereas orthodontists already have that education, that they have used aligner system before, they have used fixed appliances before. From a legal point of view, I mean, obviously we cannot restrict GPs from using our system if they want to use it, but from a practical point of view, our focus is right now orthodontic market, and our sales force call point is to the orthodontic office right now.
And I think, Howard, I'll pick that up a little bit. As we develop that pipeline, we will have many products that give the ability for general dentists to use uLabSystems in their office, and then if they want to learn orthodontics and do orthodontics as well, they'll be able to do that.
And what is when you look at uDesign and the technology, is uDesign, is that more AI, or is there an artificial intelligence part to your company?
Yes.
You want to
any more than one word? Or is that your secret sauce that you'd prefer not to talk about?
I can talk a little bit about AI.
You can tell me anything you want, because my natural intelligence won't process any information about artificial intelligence. I haven't evolved that far.
Yeah, we use AI a lot, but we don't talk a lot about AI because nowadays I feel that there are lots of companies just use AI to screw around to talk to investors and trying to get money. But we do use AI, and I think that from my point of view, I did AI about 30 years ago when I first came to the States. The AI depends on the first set of AI is need data, and then you have the learning algorithm, and then you run through the training process and get your algorithm out, right? And the key is AI can only mimic what your data represent. And if you have crap data, although you have a whole bunch of gigabytes of data, and your AI algorithm is gonna be crap, right? And what we have is at uDesign, we let the doctor to use our software. Unintentionally, they have the treatment already recorded to the cloud. And based on that thing, we are learning from it. And all these doctors, high-end doctor, and they know the biomechanics, clinic knowledge, how to provide a high-quality treatment. So I think that although our data, we have fewer cases than other companies, but we have high-quality data. And so we think that the algorithm comes out from our data is it's also more high quality.
Yeah, a lot of people think this AI is brand new, but you've been studying it for 30 years.
Yeah, it was actually used for the defense industry early on. That's what primary my research when I first get to the States.
So, Mick, what are you more excited about? Are you more excited about, I mean, you've been on pharma for years and years and years. They've been talking about it on Dental Town for over a decade. Or are you more on pharma? Or are you more with the new uLabSystems are seeing patients? What are you most passionate about today?
Well, what I'd say, what I'm most passionate about, Howard, is just advancing dentistry. Dentistry has given me everything I have, and so if we can make dentistry better for practitioners and for patients, then that's my passion. So I spread my time pretty evenly between practice, on pharma, and uLab.
Well, explain the on pharma. And there's a lot of kids still in dental kindergarten listening to this show. We think about a quarter of them are still in dental school. They're always sending me emails, howard@dentaltown.com. But for the kids, tell them what on pharma is and what that's all about.
Sure. So on pharma, we developed, I started at on pharma trying to make local anesthetic better for me, better for my patients. We set out to allow anesthetic to work. It doesn't always work for me, and it doesn't always work for our patients. So the idea behind it is to add sodium bicarbonate to the local anesthetic at a very precise pH so that every cartridge of anesthetic that goes in is delivered in a way that is better for the patient. It'll allow for a more comfortable injection. It'll allow for anesthesia to come on predictably and very rapidly, and allow for anesthetic to fail a lot less often.
So, explain. It's very confusing. I mean, there's Sitnest, there's Prilocaine, there's Mepivacaine. If someone has not done 50 fillings in their life, how would you sum all that up? What do they need to know in getting someone profoundly numb?
Sure. Yeah. So what you're describing is there's 5 flavors of local anesthetic in dentistry in the United States with 9 different formulations. Which one do you use? Well, what I would recommend, and when I teach about local anesthesia, is you only need a handful, 2 or 3, but you should have 2 or 3, and you should know everything you can possibly know about those. And that's all you need to have in your office, especially if you're going to buffer local anesthetic, because you'll be able to make those 3 or whatever number of anesthetics you choose to have in your office work predictably every single time. And that's the idea behind it, is being able to be efficient, predictable, and as comfortable as you possibly can for patients.
Well, that sounds like an amazing 1-hour online CE course you should make for Dentaltown.
Okay.
You said you spread your time evenly. I mean, we put up 400 1-hour courses. They've been viewed almost 1 million times. People love these 1-hour category killer, online, watch on your iPad. Do you think you could ever do something like that to help them out?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Nice. Especially when they're coming out with $275,000 in student loans and really don't want to fly across the country every weekend to learn something. The online CE is so much better. What percent of the time do you think a normal dental practice would need buffered anesthetic?
So I wouldn't practice without it, Howard. I think that every patient needs it on every injection.
Every patient needs it on every injection.
If you want to be predictable, you want to be as comfortable as possible and as efficient as possible in your office, yeah, that's the way I feel.
Wow. And let
me put it this way. If you took it away from me, it's time to retire from clinical dentistry.
Yeah. I have a couple assistants that have been with me 20, 30 years. And our rule is if you call in sick that day, you got to call me first so I can call in sick, because I cannot stand to go into work with a temporary assistant. Oh my God, there's just nothing more frustrating for me. So what percent of the dentists do you think use it every day?
That's hard to say. I'm going to go and say that it's a fairly low number. I think that it's probably under 5%.
Under 5%. And you're saying that every dentist would probably, if they understood this, would probably find it useful?
I think every patient would find it useful. Therefore, every dentist should find it useful.
Wow. So that is a really big gap. And you guys are legends in knowledge, technology. I mean, seriously, it's humbling to read your 3 resumes. I feel like on that Sesame Street, remember, one of these things doesn't go with the other. Well, I'm that guy on this podcast. Like, I don't go with you three guys. So you guys are really, really out there, intelligent. Why do you think 95% of dentists aren't thinking about this when obviously not getting someone numb it slows you down, it upsets the patient, it they jump, they hurt. Why is there such a disconnect?
Well, I think we learn, in dental school, and then we get in habits in our office, and habits are hard to break.
So, in your office, is it all general dentist?
Yes.
So are you into the clear aligner? Are you doing a lot of clear aligners too?
Yes.
Well, that's kind of another bizarre thing in dentistry. Like, when you're in dental school, the endodontists help you learn endo, the oral surgeons help you pull teeth, but no one's ever really felt the support that the orthodontists want to help you learn how to do ortho. Do you sense that in California where you're at, or is that just not true?
Well, I will say that I think I'm following your question, but orthodontics, in at least where I went to dental school, we really weren't taught very much about orthodontics. Maybe it's because at UOP or Arthur A. Dugoni School of Dentistry, there's only an orthodontic specialty program. At least when I was there, I think they had.
And Art was an orthodontist.
And Art was an orthodontist as well. And so we really didn't understand. We were taught really well how to refer to orthodontists, but not really anything about orthodontics. And so, I had to get all my knowledge outside of dental school. So I treat with clear aligners. I treat with fixed brackets, and I treat the hybrid case. That's my favorite way of treating patients.
And why is a hybrid your favorite way?
The reason the hybrid is my favorite way is, the best way I could describe that is, when you do an Invisalign case, and let's say you get 30 sets of aligners, and at the end of it, what's the percentage of time that you have to do a revision? And in my estimation, it's 100% of the time. And another word you could use for revision is failure, because if 100% of the time I have to revise the case, then that is a failure. So the reason for that is because there's a lot of movements of teeth that aren't predictable with aligners, but are very predictable with fixed orthodontics. So if you can take care of those first and then switch to clear aligners to finish the case, which is much easier to get to a nice finished case, then you've been able to speed up the process for the patients, get them out of the brackets quickly and into aligners that have predictable movements so you can finish the case nicely. You've got a great combination. So that's why I prefer hybrid.
But you feel that they didn't really teach you orthodontics at Arthur Dugoni School of Dentistry?
Not 35 years ago when I was there.
Well, we're talking about, I know dentists who are married to an orthodontist, and they can't even go to the AAO meeting because only orthodontists can go, and your spouse who you slept with last night, who's a dentist, isn't allowed in the meeting. I mean, how much more insanity? I mean, in dental school, you can ask anybody, can you help me do a molar root canal? And endodontist will run in there, pediatric, everything. But again, you ask, well, can I do an ortho case? They say, well, you should go to ortho school. So do you think it's the only specialist that does that? I mean, I own Ortho Town, and I'm not allowed to go on the site. I own it, but I'm not an orthodontist. Whereas Dental Town, all the other specialists, pediatric dentists, they all talk and share amongst themselves. So do you think this one weird thing about orthodontics will cause issues as you roll out uLabs?
Well, I think to be honest with you, I think that, orthodontists are protective, and you can't blame anybody for being protective of their space. But I think what we may find out from SmileDirectClub is that the pie is much bigger than we think it is. Meaning that there's a lot more business out there than we're able to get to. And possibly that's because orthodontics is expensive from a consumer point of view. And so if those things open up because the cost comes down, whether it's direct to consumer or it's some hybrid with an orthodontist or dentist, then that gives a lot more opportunity for orthodontics to be done. And to be quite honest with you, there's not enough orthodontists probably to take care of the need in the United States. So the general dentist is going to have to become more educated and have an opportunity to take care of the orthodontic patient. And they should be very selective in the cases that they do, just like with endodontics. The general dentist is perfectly qualified to do a root canal, but they should select the easy cases and let the specialist take care of the hard cases. It's just smart. And that's the way orthodontics should be as well.
Yeah, I thought the best thing about the SmileDirectClub, the whole thing, is that now the orthodontist, the general dentist wouldn't be the bad guy anymore. There was actually someone worse than us, and that maybe we would. I thought it should bring orthodontists and general dentists actually closer. So you also talked about some other interesting aspects of it with sleep. Where are you going with that with sleep?
Right. So, the obstructive sleep apnea, we're really in, I think that medicine and dentistry is in the infancy of learning about that. But what we do know is that, we need to open the airway. And so if you can widen the arch and bring the lower arch forward, you're going to open the airway. And right now we do that with an appliance just by bringing the lower arch forward. But if you could treat the patient orthodontically and widen the arches and bring the lower arch forward, you actually can treat the airway and make the airway open. And so the problem is, if you're in an appliance that holds your jaw in one position, you can't move the teeth. So what if you could move the teeth 24 hours a day, but also have the sleep apnea device that treats the sleep apnea while the orthodontics are occurring, with the end result being that the patient doesn't need to wear an appliance, but they're fixed. So that's the goal with that treatment modality.
And uLab announced a relationship with Zendura, with Bay Materials. What's that all about?
So Ray Stewart, the CEO, founder of Bay Material, is a gentleman that both Charlie and we know very well, because he was actually one of the key guys during the Invisalign time in helping us develop 3 generations of material for Align technology. And after we all left, he went on his own and started Bay Material. And based on that knowledge, he started Bay Material and made a pretty successful business. So when we opened the door here at the uLab, we called them up, a few months later to kind of let them know what we are up to. But because for the last 3.5 years, we've been mainly focused on the software, there was really not much interaction between us and Bay Material. But as part of our new product offering that we are hoping to launch at AAO next year or early next year, we're going to have an aligner product where for the orthodontists that don't want to essentially build their aligners in their own lab, or they don't want to build all of it. Because one of the feedbacks we have received from the current customer is, hey, we are okay making the few first stages, get the patient out the door and have same delivery aligner, but we don't want to turn our back office into a manufacturing facility. So we're going to provide that service as an additive service. By that service, I mean aligner product. And as part of that, we needed a material partner. And after looking at a number of other materials that are out there, we felt that Zendura is probably the best material right now. And we forged a relationship with Zendura, and we're going to use their material in our own manufacturing facility. And as part of the deal, they also offer the discount to our customer base. So both sides could benefit. I mean, we are going to use it in our manufacturing, and anybody that is using our software as a licensee could benefit from a preferred discounting as part of this relationship.
It's really amazing. A really clear mind realizes there's market segments based on price, on all kinds of market segments. And, there's always a cycle. I love the statistics where in 1970, there were 10,000 microbreweries. It got all the way down to 70, and now it's back to 10,000. I mean, it's always about consolidation, and then as soon as they're all consolidated, then it deconsolidates, and then it consolidates again. And so many people don't realize, like, there's so many different market segments. There's just going to be a lot of people who don't want to make their own trays. And then there's going to be a lot of people who want to make their own trays. And there's so many different markets, and so many young people, when they get out of dental school, they think there's one market that fits all, and there's just nothing further from the truth. You guys have been in the market for a long time. I got out of school in 1980. That was the worst economic deleveraging I'd ever seen. It was 21% interest rates. Then I got out of school in 87, just in time for Black Monday. And then there was the Y2K bubble popped. And then there was Lehman's 10 years ago. It just smells like teen spirit again. It just smells like we're right back where it is. You guys live in Silicon Valley. Your friends are all over Silicon Valley. Does it smell that way to you again?
I don't know. Yeah, to some extent, yes. But I don't know. I mean, my feeling changes week by week, I have to say. Some weeks I feel very positive. Some weeks I say, oh, no, but generally I think we are I feel we are on a downward trend, or something is going to happen. I just have that feeling.
Well, Joseph Schumpeter got a Nobel Prize in economics for business cycles. And I always thought the takeaway, maybe it was my instructor that jaded me, but he said, at the end of the day, it's a bunch of wild monkeys making all the decisions. And after 7, 8, 9, 10 years, a lot of bad decisions got to get cleaned out. He saw it as just kind of it's time for the tide to go out to see who's swimming without any swimsuits on and clean up all the messes. But Charlie, you think it's you think we're in another economic downturn?
I'm not sure. I think it's still continues strong for the next 2 or 3 years.
Sure, yeah. There's two rules about bubbles. They always pop, but they always get bigger than anyone ever imagined. So I'm sure given enough time. Well, gentlemen, I can't believe I got you three to come on the show. I mean, it was really a huge honor. We talked about so many things. Is there anything I didn't talk about that you wished I would have talked about?
Not from my perspective, but I also wanted to thank you for inviting us to your show. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having us. I don't know, Mick.
Yeah, I really appreciate your time, Howard. This is great service for your dentist at Dentaltown as well.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You did ask a question, say what we need to talk to the young dentist, what we're going to share with them. I think I have some point for them.
Good, let's hear it.
And first, I think the dentistry is going more towards the digital, and whatever the CAD/CAM tools, so like uLab software, and get a hand on it, and it will be helpful. Second one is I think that now because all the cloud computing and including uLab, we actually have the uDesign tool facilitate the people can share information between different professionals, and they can learn from each other. And I think that's critical. And third one is I think they should control their own destiny, trust themselves. Yeah, I think from the orthodontist dentists where I familiar with, they're always the artists, the thinkers, and they want to have something that in their hand, they have their own philosophy, how to treat the patient and trust themselves, and just use the tool in their hand and make magic happen.
So if all three of you had a baby at home who was 18 years old and getting ready to go off to college, and she said, I've only got two choices. I'm either going to be a dentist just like my daddy, or I'm going to go there and learn Python and start programming artificial intelligence. What do you think would be a better decision? What would you tell her?
Well, I actually have two daughters that are in that age group. My advice to them is do something that contributes to the community, because at the end of the day, you feel much happier about yourself when you come home at night. And if dentistry makes you happy, that's great. If programming AI makes you happy and contributes to the community, that's great too. So I'm a kind of agnostic of what they do as long as they contribute, and because I think they will get a fulfillment as an individual at the end of the day.
Well, what scares you more? How many cavities a person has, or listening to their natural intelligence? Where do you think they need more help? Brushing and flossing, or artificial intelligence to augment their natural intelligence?
I don't know how to answer that.
Is Python though the language? Is that pretty much the agreed upon language for AI moving forward for now?
Oh, Python is an easy programming language, but I think most of AI is not written in Python.
You think most of AI will not be Python?
No.
What do you think most of it be? What language should they learn? Should they learn Python first and then move on, or is Python the intro language?
Python is a language to call some AI procedures, but most of them are written in Java and C++, not Python.
Okay. Well, I look whenever I go to a family reunion, I pray all day long for artificial intelligence just to come to our family. But gentlemen, again, thank you so much. If you ever want to go on Dental Town and tell them those words, or tell them where they can go on your site to share those things, that's all great. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to come on the show and talk to my homies. It's been very, very fun listening to you guys today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Howard.
Thank you,
All
Howard.
All right. Have a great day.